The old folks called it Whispering Woods for a reason. They said the trees whispered secrets to you, dark, terrible secrets. Secrets that clawed at your mind and stole your sanity. The woods were alive, they said, alive and hungry. Generations of children grew up fearing the woods. They told stories around campfires, their voices hushed, their eyes wide with terror. Stories of people who wandered into the woods and were never seen again. Some said their souls were trapped there forever, forced to whisper the secrets of the woods for all eternity. No one dared to enter the woods after dark, not if they valued their sanity, not if they valued their lives. But legends are just that, legends, or so Kara thought. Kara scoffed at the stories. She craved adventure, laughed at danger. So when her friends dared her to spend a night in Whispering Woods, she didn't hesitate. She wouldn't let silly stories scare her. "You won't last 5 minutes," her friend Jake said, his voice trembling slightly. "Yeah, right," Kara retorted, tossing her hair over her shoulder. "I'll be back by morning, with proof that your precious woods are nothing but a bunch of trees." The sun was setting as Kara marched towards the woods. Her friends watched, their faces a mixture of awe and apprehension. They knew the legend. They believed. But Kara wouldn't be swayed. She was determined to prove them wrong. As the last rays of sunlight faded, Kara disappeared into the shadows of the woods. The woods were strangely silent. The usual nighttime symphony of crickets and owls was absent, replaced by an unnerving stillness. The trees, gnarled and twisted, loomed over Kara like skeletal fingers reaching out to grab her, but Kara pressed on, her initial confidence beginning to waver. The silence was unnerving, pressing down on her like a heavy weight. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest, her breath catching in her throat. She told herself it was just the adrenaline, the thrill of the challenge. But deep down, a sliver of doubt began to creep into her mind. What if the stories were true? Then she heard it, a faint whisper, barely audible. It seemed to come from the trees themselves, their leaves rustling softly despite the lack of wind. "Kara?" She stopped, her blood turning to ice. She looked around, her eyes scanning the dark woods. But there was nothing there. Just the wind, she muttered, trying to convince herself. But the whisper came again, closer this time, clearer. "Kara, join us." Fear, cold and sharp, pierced through her bravado. It was like the voice was inside her head, slithering around her thoughts. She wasn't alone. Section 5. Faceless in the shadows. A figure emerged from behind a tree. It was tall and skeletal, its form shrouded in darkness. It had no face, just a smooth blank surface where its face should be. Kara gasped, her back hitting a rough bark. The whisper grew louder, echoing around her, seeming to come from the figure itself. "Join us! Join us!" She stumbled back, her foot catching on a root. Panic surged through her, choking her. She had to get out of there. She had to escape. She turned and ran, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Section 6. A circle of whispers. But it was too late. More figures emerged from the trees, their forms shifting and swaying in the darkness. They were all around her, closing in. Their whispers grew louder, merging into a cacophony of voices that seemed to claw at her mind. "Join us. Be one of us." She tripped and fell, landing hard on the forest floor. She looked up, her heart pounding in her chest. The figures circled her, their whispers washing over her like waves. She was trapped. Section 7. The Transformation. The tallest figure stepped forward, its blank face hovering inches from hers. It reached out, its long skeletal fingers wrapping around her wrist. Its touch was icy cold, sending shivers down her spine. "You are ours now," the figure whispered, its voice echoing in her skull. "You will be one of us." Kara struggled, but it was no use. The figure's grip was too strong. She felt a strange numbness spreading through her body, starting from where the figure touched her, her vision blurred. Her thoughts became jumbled. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. "Let me go," she thought, her voice a whimper in her own mind. But it was too late. The transformation had begun. Section 8. A Search in Vain. The next morning, sunlight dappled the forest floor as Jake and the others cautiously approached the edge of the woods. They had waited for Kara all night, their worry growing with every passing hour. "Kara!" Jake called out, his voice echoing in the stillness. "Kara, where are you?" They searched for hours, their calls met with silence. The woods seemed to mock them, their branches swaying slightly as if whispering secrets they couldn't understand. Despair began to set in. They knew in their hearts that something was terribly wrong. Section 9. One of the faceless. Then they saw it. A flash of white behind a particularly gnarled oak tree. It was Kara's shirt. They rushed towards it, their hearts pounding with a mixture of hope and dread. But as they rounded the tree, their blood ran cold. Standing amongst the trees was a figure. It was tall and skeletal, its form shrouded in shadow. It had no face, just a smooth, blank surface, and it was wearing Kara's shirt. The figure turned towards them, and for a moment, Jake could have sworn he saw a flicker of recognition in the blankness where its eyes should have been. Section 10. Forever Lost. Then the figure turned away and melted back into the trees, disappearing into the shadows. Jake and the others stumbled back, their faces pale, their eyes wide with horror. They knew then that the legend was true. They knew what had become of Kara. Their friend was gone, lost to the whispering woods, trapped forever in the darkness, destined to whisper secrets to those foolish enough to enter. And as they turned and fled, the wind seemed to carry a faint whisper, barely audible but filled with chilling certainty. "Join us."